Emma Lynch had an incredible impact on this community. And if you think about the stories that have been told over the last few days, sometimes you might have thought that you were not at a wake at all, but that you were at something of a Hooley. Because the stories were hilarious. The memories were incredible. And the memories were from this place and from you, the people with whom Emma shared her life. Her life was short. It began on the 28th of June 1989. The baby of the family, and given the names Emma Ann. She was full of fun, and her friends remember her, I think probably quite unkindly, because of the pigtails. And of course, always a football. She'd meet her friends in the surgery at Killeter and they'd play football and Kirby, and the gate then became the volleyball net, of course, as well. The things that she could do with the ball were countless indeed. In those early days, she was never too keen on school, I think it's probably fair to say. But she definitely loved the social side of it and the sporting side of it. Usually playing football with the boys at lunchtime. And she'd no bother holding her own. She was also one of those children who was full of mischief. She was the knick-knocker of Killeter, torturing all of the neighbours. And probably everybody knew it was her. A more productive outlet was Ahiarn St Davog's, and she was very much part of the club there in the football, all of the football underage teams. She lived and breathed football and the club, and she prided herself on her skills as a goalie. I'm told there was a wee bit of sibling rivalry recently when Michelle borrowed Emma's boots for the only mothers and others. Emma said that Michelle only took them because she was afraid that she would go over and show you up because she was the better goalie. And outside of football, lest you think that she was a one-trick pony, there were the Friday night cinema dates. I'm reliably informed that they were always very sensible, no badness at all, and not a person believed it. I mentioned earlier that Emma wasn't too fond of school. It didn't get any better when she went on to St Eugene's High School, where she became known as the Corridor Kid. She had an endless supply of excuses for getting out of class and spent most of the time chatting to everybody and anyone that she met in the corridors. The only thing she loved about school was PE class and break time. But in spite of that, she loved her school days and she loved to chat about them. That's where the friendships were forged and developed and further cemented. And in spite of her reputation, she actually left St Eugene's with a full attendance certificate. She was very proud of that, especially because most of her attendance was in the corridors. But Emma had to face some tough times in life as well. But the amazing thing about her was that she never let those define her. Instead, she remained determined. And her friends all agree that it was those experiences that moulded her into the amazing person that she became. And she certainly knew how much she depended on, and she appreciated the support of her friends and, of course, her family as well. Talking of friends, Emma was part of a very tight group, of course. Sean, Emma, the other one, and now Marie. And their friendship took them to every road in Donegal, all over Ireland. And then Sean decided that he wanted to go to San Francisco for the summer. So the two Emmas and Anne-Marie thought, well, we'll go too, because they didn't want to be separated for 8 weeks from their friend. Honestly, I can't believe that they made it to California. Because I'm sure you've all heard the story of how they set out to go to Dublin in the car and had to turn back at the Boyne Bridge because nobody had money for the toll. So how they ever made it to California is beyond me. I've been referring to Emma as Emma so far, but of course most of you know her as Hooley. During one of her camping trips, her friend Gary Gamble straightened her hair, and then it flicked out the next morning, just like Miss Hooley from Ballymorey. And the name stuck, but usually without the miss. She loved her family more than anything else. She talked constantly about them to her friends and to anybody who'd listen, about how wonderful her nephews and nieces, how wonderful her sister was, believe that, Michelle, and how wonderful her brothers were. She was so proud to be part of that family, and of course of Killeter itself. And then of course there was Dimpna and Mickey, who would do anything for her, their baby girl. And she knew it, and she appreciated it, and she told you as well how much she appreciated it. As we know, Emma spent a lot of her time when she wasn't in California or Santa Ponsa or all of those exotic places in Killeter Street. And as you might have gathered from the mementos that were brought up at the start, she was accomplished in so many things, not just at football, but also at pool and darts. And impressively, actually, just last Friday, in a game of darts, she checked out on 142. She claimed it was the biggest checkout in Killeter ever, so we'll just have to take her word for that. And wasn't it wonderful that she had that experience in those last days of her life? Because these were the things that were important to Emma. Hooley was always the one to give a helping hand. When she was in the bar, she'd be lifting glasses, she'd be helping out wherever she could, or she'd be bringing people over food from the chippy, back and forward across the street endlessly. She would go up and down Killeter Street endless times every day, and everybody knew her, and everybody chatted to her, and she chatted to everybody. It was like she swapped those corridors of St. Eugene's for the main street in Killeter, and it was her little empire. One of my favourite pictures, and I've seen it endless times on Facebook in the last couple of days, is that amazing picture of Emma at the Westlife concert. I think is priceless. And she actually said it was the best day of her life. And how wonderful it was that she was able to share that. And she told people how she was feeling. She told people how much she appreciated them. She told people how wonderful they were. What an extraordinary testament to a woman who lived for 34 years, who touched so many lives. The song was Starlight from Westlife. And the final words of this song are starlight, lighting up the darkest night. Something I can see in your eyes keeps me alive tonight. We can all be starlights. Racing at the speed of light, I found you in my darkest time. Now, look how we shine so bright. We can all be starlights. Those words might well have been written by Hooley herself. She indeed has brought an amazing amount of light to the streets of Killeter. We always say the prayer, may she rest in peace. But I have a funny feeling that Hooley is not resting in peace. I would say it's one heck of a party and a noisier heaven because she's there. And we just wish her the reward of her goodness. And we pray that God, who gave us Emma for a short time, will now bring her to her eternal reward. That was for her.